Students, a director may choose to move action along by telling the story as a series of cuts going from one shot to another, or they may decide to move the camera along with the action. Along with the sequential editing, the ability to move the camera distinguishes film from other visual arts such as photography, painting, etc. The movement is not just moving the camera from one frame to another. The style, the trajectory, the pacing, and the timing in relation to the action, all these elements contribute to the movement of the camera. The camera should not be moved just for the sake of bringing in the movement. It shows the poor storytelling skills of the director. On the other hand, a camera movement should be motivated. For example, a camera can be moved to reveal the new information on the screen, or it can be pulled back to show a wider shot. Unmotivated camera movements distract the audience. You may have already come across some of the basic types of camera movements like pans, tilts and zooms, etc. But beyond these simple moves, most of the other moves involve actual movement of the camera. Let's see them one by one. First, pan. The term pan applies to the left or right horizontal movement of the camera. Pans are very easy to operate with both mounted and the unmounted cameras. But there is one operational limitation with the pans. If the camera is moved too fast, there will be a strobing effect which will be very disturbing. But students, as a general rule of thumb, with a shutter opening of 180 degree and a frame rate of 24 or 25 frames per second, it should take at least 3 to 5 seconds for an object to move from one side of the frame to the other side. Next, we will see tilt. Just like the pan, the tilting is vertical or up and down movement of the camera. Sometimes, people even use the word pan up for tilting the camera. This is because tilts are used less frequently than the pans. We live most of our lives on the horizontal plane, and it is where the most of our action plays out in the film. But tilt sometimes breaks the confined horizontal plane and brings in a three-dimensional effect and keeps us with the characters as they move through the space. It can be used to look up the height of the building or movement of the lift. Next, dolly shots, sometimes called trucking or tracking shots. The camera is placed on a moving vehicle and moves along the action, generally following a moving figure or object. Complicated dolly shots will involve a track being laid on the set for the camera to follow, hence it is called a dolly shot. The camera might be mounted on a car, a plane, or even a shopping trolley, which is a good method for independent filmmakers. A dolly shot may be a good way of portraying the moment, the journey of the character, for instance, or for moving from a long shot to a close-up, gradually focusing the audience on a particular object or a character. Next, we will see handheld shots. The handheld movie camera first saw widespread during the World War II, when news reporters took their wind-up reflexes and aimos into the heat of the battle, producing some of the most arresting footages of the 20th century. After the war, it took a while for commercially produced movies to catch up, and documentary filmmakers led the way, demanding the production of smaller, lighter cameras that could be moved in and out of the scene with speed, producing a fly-on-the-wall effect. This aesthetic took a while to catch on with mainstream Hollywood, as it gives a jerky, ragged effect totally at odds with the organized smoothness of the dolly shot. The Steadicam, which is a heavy contraption attached to an operator by harness. The camera is stabilized so it moves independently. It was debuted in Marathon Man, which was released in 1976, bringing a new smoothness to the handheld camera movements and has been used to great effects in movies and TV shows ever since. No walk and talk sequence would be complete without one. Handheld cameras denote a certain kind of gritty realism, and they can make the audience feel as though they are the part of the scene rather than viewing it from a detached, frozen position. Next, crane shots. Basically, crane shots are dolly shots in the air. A crane or a jib is a large, heavy piece of equipment which is a useful way of moving a camera. It can move up, down, left, right, swooping in the action or moving diagonally out of it. The camera operator and the camera are counterbalanced by a heavy weight and trust their safety to a skilled crane or jib operator. Next, zoom shots. A zoom lens contains a mechanism that changes the magnification of an image. On a still camera, this means that the photographer can get a close-up shot while still being some distance from the subject. A video zoom lens can change the position of the audience either very quickly, like a smash zoom, or very slowly without moving the camera an inch, thus saving a lot of time and trouble. Zoom lenses are also drastically overused by many directors, including those holding palm carders, who try to give the impression of movement and excitement in a scene where it does not exist. Use this with a caution and a tripod. Next, the aerial shot. An exciting variation of a crane shot usually taken from a helicopter. This is often used at the beginning of the film in order to establish setting and movement. A helicopter is like a particularly flexible sort of crane. It can go anywhere, keep up with anything, move in and out of the scene and convey real drama and exhilaration so long as you don't need to get close to your actors or use location sound with the shots. So students, these are different types of camera movements. Next, we will see different lighting techniques used in the filmmaking. Lighting techniques. Many times, the difference between a good scene and a great scene is the lighting. Good lighting can transform a routine, uninteresting shot into an attractive, appealing image that draws the audience attention. Because lighting is such a great manipulator of the audience. The eye is drawn to the brightest portion of an image. That means the audience can subtly direct where to look and what subject is the most important. So, it is important to have the proper skills for using the light in the film sets. Use of lighting. Good lighting needs to be bright enough to allow you to perform required tasks. Provide even light across the area to prevent shadows. Be free from direct or indirect glare. General and task lighting. There are two types of lighting to consider: general and task lighting. First, we will see general lighting. General lighting refers to both artificial and daylight for an entire space. Task lighting is a light focused on the particular area where a task is being performed, such as reading, sewing, using the telephone, etc. Daylight. The brightness and color of daylight changes depending on the time of the day, the season and weather. You often need to supplement daylight by turning on room light or task lights. To maximize available daylight, here are some tips. Keep windows as clean as possible. Ensure window shades are up and trim trees and shrubs away from windows. Install skylights in the hallway, bathroom or kitchen to allow more natural light. Next, artificial lighting. There are four main types of artificial lights: fluorescent lights, halogen lights, light emitting diodes, that is LED, and camera mounted lights. First, fluorescent lights. Fluorescent lights provides bright light and are economical to run. They are available in warm white, cool white or daylight. It is important that you trial and see which type suits you the best. Next, halogen lights. Halogen lights are useful when you desire very bright light in a small area. They are usually the most inexpensive lights because halogen lights provide a narrower band of light. More light fittings are required to adequately light up a space. Halogen lights can cause glary bright spots on reading materials. They can also get hot, which may be a problem when used at close range. Next, LED light. LED light is primarily used for task lighting and not to illuminate large spaces or rooms. While LED globes can be a little more expensive, they are very energy efficient and last a long time. These LED lights does not produce much heat. Next, camera mounted lights. The camera mounted light is an easy versatile solution used by amateurs and professionals alike. Typically, the light will draw power from camera battery, although a separate power supply can be used. Be aware that lights which draw power from the camera battery will significantly shorten the battery's charge time. This type of lighting does not create a pleasing effect. It is a blunt instrument approach which is only designed to illuminate the scene enough to allow normal camera operations. However, it is a simple and practical solution. Here are some recommendations for good lighting. Good lighting requires you to have a high level of light and the room evenly lit as well as being glare free. Even lighting is important so that your eyes do not have to adjust to the changes in the light levels. Install sensor controlled spotlights or floodlights on outdoor areas, particularly to light up paths and steps. Next, we will see glare. Glare is the bright light that interferes with the vision. Some eye conditions make individuals very sensitive to glare. Glare can be caused by natural lights or artificial light and can be a problem both in indoors and outdoors. Glare should be reduced whenever it is possible. These are some ways to reduce the glare: fitting blinds, curtains or tinting windows, working with your back to the window, wearing sunglasses or glare shields. Next, task lighting. If general lighting is not sufficient, a task light such as a torch or a lamp is a useful form of light. Task lighting enhances contrast, making it easier to see what you are looking at. A ceiling light is often too far away. Task lighting can be used for reading, writing, craft work, etc. Task lighting is best used with general room lighting so that when you move away from the task area, you are able to see where you are going. Next, we will discuss 3-point lighting. For most situations, the best lighting results come from using the variations of the 3 basic light directions. The main light or the key light is positioned slightly above and to one side of the camera. This is normally a spotlight and it reveals the shape and surface features of the subject. The key light produces distinct harsh shadows. The fill light is a floodlight that is placed on the opposite side of the camera from the key light. It reduces the shadows made by the key light but should not eliminate the shadows fully. The fill light also reduces the lighting contrast. The more the key light is offset, the more important this soft fill light becomes. If the key is nearly frontal, you may not need fill light at all. This helps give the face texture and the shape. Finally, a backlight is angled down onto the subject from behind to separate the subject and the background. The backlight emphasizes the shape of the subject. The key light and backlight are generally have same intensity. However, the backlight may need to be reduced depending on the subject's hair color. The fill light is usually 1/2 or 3/4 the intensity of the key and backlight. Wherever possible, additional lights can be used to illuminate the background behind the subject, but where space or facilities are limited, spill illumination from the key and fill light may be used to cover the background areas. Using reflectors. The easiest and least expensive way to improve subjects' lighting when shooting in sunlight is to use the reflector. This is simply a surface such as board, screen, cloth or even a wall that reflects existing light onto the subject from another angle. The quality of the reflected light depends on the surface you use. Many commercial reflectors are available, such as one shown in the figure. These lightweight cloth reflectors, sewn onto a spring metal frame, can be easily folded and transported. Available surfaces include silver, gold, white and combination reflectors. A mirror surface, such as a metal foil, will reflect a distinct beam of light from a hard light source, creating sharp, well-defined shadows. This light travels well, even when the subject is some distance away. A mirror surface will even reflect soft light to some extent if placed fairly near the subject. The angle of the mirror finish reflector can be critical. When the light shines directly at its surface, the maximum effect is obtained. In long shot, its limited coverage appears as localized patch of light. If the reflector has a matte white surface, it will produce a soft, diffused light which spreads over a wide angle. But this soft, reflected light is much weaker and will only travel relatively short distance. Now students, let's have a look at some basic lighting terminologies. First, key light. The dominant light on people or objects, the main light on the scene. Fill light. Light that fills in the shadows that lit by the key light. Fill lighting is sometimes described in terms of key or fill ratio. Backlight. Light that hits a person or objects from behind and above. A rim or edge light might be added to separate a dark side of a face or object from the background or make up for lack of fill on that side. Frequently, backlight can be exposed and still record well on tape or film. Backlight is sometimes also called hair light or shoulder light. Next, kicker. A kicker is a light from behind that grazes along an actor's cheek on the fill side, that is, the side opposite to the key light. Often a kicker defines the face well enough that a fill is not even necessary. It should not be confused with the backlight, which generally covers both sides equally. Side light. A light comes from the side relative to the actor. It is usually used for creating dramatic effects if there is little or no fill light, but may be bit too harsh for close-ups where some adjustment or slight fill may be needed. Topper. Light directly from above. The word can also refer to a flag that cuts off the upper part of the light. Hard light. Light from the sun or small lighting source such as a Fresnel that creates a sharp, well-defined shadows. Even a large 10K is still only a small source in relation to the subject being lit. Soft light. Light from a large source that creates soft, ill-defined shadows or no shadows at all. Skylight on an overcast day is from many directions and is very soft. Ambient light. There are two uses of this term. One means the light that just happens to be in a location. The second use of the term is soft overhead light that is just sort of there. Practicals. Actual working prop lights such as table lamps, floor lamps, sconces and so on. It is essential that all practical lamps have a dimmer on them for fine-tuning control. Small dimmers for this purpose are called hand squeezers. Highlight. Lighting that is bright and fairly shadowless with lots of fill light, often used for fashion and beauty commercials. Low light. Lighting that is dark and shadowy with a little or no fill light can be also described as having a high key or fill ratio. Bounce light. Light that is reflected to something. It may be a wall, a ceiling, a white or neutral surface, a silk, or just about anything else. Available light. Whatever light already exists on the location. Maybe the natural light from the sky, sun on an overcast day, or artificial light such as street light overheads, fluorescents, etc. Motivated lighting. Light in the scene appears to have a source such as window, a lamp, or a fireplace, and so on. In some cases, the light will come from a source visible in the scene. Summary. So, dear students, with all this information, here we come to the end of today's lecture. So, let us recap what we have learned in this episode. In this lecture, we came across several types of camera movements used in videography. Pan and tilts are horizontal and vertical movements of the camera. Dolly shots are used to track the subject when it is moving. Sometimes, holding the camera in the hands creates an effect of realism which can be witnessed in several major films. By using zoom lenses, we can create movement without actually moving the camera. Here, the magnification of the object being filmed will be changed. Next, we studied lighting. With proper and creative lighting, a routine, uninteresting shot can be transformed into an attractive, appealing image that draws the audience attention. Sunlight is the major source of light. It can be used effectively with the proper knowledge of the reflectors. In absence of sunlight or when shooting indoors, artificial lights such as LEDs, halogen lights can be used. For most situations, the best lighting results come from using some variations of the three basic light directions, which is known as three-point lighting. In three-point lighting, three lights, namely key light, fill light and backlights are used. Hope you have enjoyed this lecture. Next time you shoot a video, make sure that you use these techniques learnt in the lecture.